Tonight, see what truly exists inside the world of the paranormal. Inside. Join the discussion and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of experienced and up-and-coming investigators. See and hear what they capture, where they captured it, and how they captured it. Right now on Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. Since some of us are missing, I'm Chris.
I am Lourdes.
And I am the stunt double for Tony Rathman, Cherie Rathman, and Audra Alice in Wonderland Keeler.
He's the triple. He's the triple.
I am the embodiment of all those people, yet half as wonderful as any individual one of them. They're the best. Wish they were here. What's up, folks? Jenny Colucci, Todd and Carmela, a.k.a. Chameleon, Antoine Ritter, Roger, Raul from Tower. That's why he's Tower, because the only place you can really get the most benefit out of going Raul is from really high with an echo.
Oh, wait, there's somebody here. I haven't done this in a while. How you doing?
Audra.
Oh, yeah. How you doing? Is he here?
There's Audra.
Audra's here.
There's Audra.
Hi, Audra.
So for everybody watching, Tony and Cherie had to do their final walkthrough on their rental, so they're done with that tonight, unfortunately. So they could not be with us. And Miss Audra went to the dermatologist this afternoon, and they kind of took a big chunk out of right here, and she's not going to come on camera with a big bandage on her face because she would have been like this all night, and we really don't want her doing that. So
Aww.
she will be back next week.
Yay.
But she is watching. And probably yelling at me for telling everybody what they did to her face. So,
Aww. Well, I hope it goes away soon.
Yes, and she'll still be beautiful when she gets back,
Yep.
as she still is probably right now. She's just not sharing it with us.
Yeah. She's just beautiful with a bandage right now.
That's right. That's fair to say. Well, I am the opposite of that with no bandage.
And you, we both.
Right?
Old opposite and old.
Did you say oldle?
That's what I heard.
No, I said old. I said it really
fast. Okay, I was gonna say oldle is good, because if you could try to play that in Scrabble and if the other person doesn't sling a weapon at you, you've got a word.
Hey, multiple points on that one. So what did you guys do last week when we were not here?
What did we do on Monday?
Oh, have mercy.
I don't remember what we did on the Monday. I don't remember what we did.
I remember the investigation.
We had a great event with somebody who might be a guest on tonight's show. We were with Friday. It was the Public House, a.k.a. PH Steakhouse in Chester, New Jersey. And also Jenny Colucci, who's in the audience, was there. Anthony Simonelli was there. Todd and Carmela were there. Team Coco.
Team Coco.
They have T-shirts that say that now. Since I started saying that, I have branded yet more people in the field. But they're the best. They're great. They're great people. And it was good. It was good. We did some retooling to Staticom, as we always do, and we had out of 4 sittings, we had probably 3 of them with very emotional wow moments, 2 of which had people in tears, the first one and the 4th one, with stuff that was coming to that was very personal, proprietary as far as info goes, like nobody would know kind of stuff. And it was, not sad tears, but that kind of closure, emotional, spiritual touch point kind of thing, I guess,
Yeah.
Connection tears. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool to have that and to see that, because that's rewarding for us when we do this. The only downside to events like this when we do them is when we're like in the presence at an event of people like Jenny and Anthony and Todd and Carmela. Well, Todd and Carmela were free floating, so they were with us a little bit more. But we don't get to see what everybody else does. Lisa and Nicole from Full Moon Paranormal were there. They were in the basement, so we don't get to work with them when it's a public event like that. We're stationed somewhere, and the groups kind of cycle through. But other than that, I mean, the event itself was fantastic.
Yeah, we had a good time.
It was really good.
That's awesome.
That's my favorite part when we have moments like that. So when William's mother came through, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the gentleman's name.
Yeah, that was his name.
William. I made a clip from it today.
Yeah, I watched it. That was pretty cool.
There's more of it too. He said she always called him Willie unless she was upset with him. We heard Jenny. We weren't sure if it was Jenny Colucci or, we always ask for last names because there's more than one person on the planet named John or Phil. And we got his mother's name. He said that's his mother's name, Jenny. And then we heard William. Then he stepped outside the middle of the session to go smoke. And then during it, we heard stop smoking.
Yeah.
And then we were saying, Jenny, are you here to talk to somebody, or is that is Jenny somebody you want to talk to here? Is that your name? And then we heard my son. And so then you saw in the clip, we got Willie, and then she said the William was really clear.
William, my son.
William, my son. So they were completely blown away by it. And that's part of what we love. We have no idea that's ever going to happen when we do these things.
Right. It's fantastic. So
how about you guys? You guys, weren't you just away?
Yeah, we did we call it our emotional grounding. It's called the beach.
Okay.
We took our travel trailer for 4 days to the beach and chilled there, and it was really nice because the season doesn't start in the Outer Banks until Memorial Day. So all the way up to Memorial Day, the RV resort is kind of empty. And it was about 30% full the whole time we were there. I mean, it wasn't beach weather, but it was nice. It was nice being at the beach, getting away, disconnecting. It was pretty cool.
Right.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, you posted some photos. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, it was so nice.
Oh, it's always gorgeous there. And the resort, the RV resort that we park on is a part of the thinnest portion of the Outer Banks, and you can literally, from where our trailer was parked and our camp was set up, 2 minutes to the sound side, 2 minutes to the beach is literally that close. And there's a portion of the road just north of there where we camp, where after 7 p.m. when high tide comes in, you can't get through. The tide comes over the road and they don't allow people to pass. So you're basically on an island when high tide comes in. So it's pretty cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice.
That is really nice.
It's a tough place to be stranded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's horrible. But it was a good trip.
That's cool. Yeah, and we need that sometimes, right? We need to kind of, as
Yes.
much as we love being here every Monday, sometimes we need to step away for a week.
Yeah, and everybody watching, you need to step away from the paranormal. Paranormal all the time is not a good thing. You need to disconnect. You need to disconnect yourself from the energies and the spirits and give them a break as much as we need a break too, because they'll drain you. So.
Yeah. Oh,
I would say that's good advice.
Jacqueline Barbera DeSantis is watching. She's awesome. Michael Bloomfield, share to American Ghost Stories.
Well,
Michael
thank
Bloomfield
you, Michael.
is an unsung hero in the paranormal community because he really does. I imagine, like anybody else, if you do him wrong, you're done, right? But otherwise, he generally just shows really a lot of support for other people constantly. It's hard not to notice.
Yes.
So we appreciate that very much.
Oh, and I wanted to do a big shout out too. I didn't get a chance to because of last week being out. Talked to the Montgomery County Historical Society, and they are excited about all the promotion in the paranormal community that the Montgomery House is getting. And they absolutely love us, not just us, but the paranormal community, because, it's not a small county, but it's very small in population. So they don't get a whole lot of money in to help them support the places like the Montgomery House. So when they get checks from us from when Raul and the Cocos came out, they are super ecstatic about it. And I told them we've got other groups interested and we're really going to push it. And they are super excited and they absolutely adore the paranormal community for taking care of the Montgomery House for us. So I just wanted to big shout out to everybody. Thank you so much.
That's cool.
That's very nice
That's
to hear.
cool. And for our Spanish-speaking audience, that's dos cocos. Dos cocos. No locos de cocos, but cocos de buenos. How was that? How was that?
It almost sounded like a commercial for cereal in the Spanish
It
channel.
probably did.
Coco for locos, just for you.
It probably did.
Coco for locos.
It sounded like a Hispanic cereal, the commercial from Phoenix. Done by an Italian guy.
Locos or Cocoa Pops.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was
Oh
awesome.
my goodness.
Yeah, Team Coco.
Well, we
So-
have got a really cool show for you tonight, guys.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I've
Yes.
heard. But then again, I may have heard nothing. Nothing.
Possibly nothing. So there's everything that we do, everybody does different things. We've got mediums, we've got paranormal researchers, we've got ghost investigators, we got paranormal investigators. Everybody's got a weird title and everybody's got a label, but we all look for evidence, and there's all types of evidence, guys. It's not just capturing an EVP. It's not just capturing a video. It's not just about capturing that golden glory ghost picture that you caught somewhere at a great locations. It's about making the connections. It's about somebody connecting with spirits and showing you in a convincing way that they've made that connection, and then working with people like Ron and Lourdes and getting responses off of Statacom in line and in congruent with what you're doing as a researcher and as a medium. So tonight, returning back to EVPE, we have got Richard Moschella, paranormal researcher, mediumship spirit artist, and author. Everybody say hello again to Richard. Hey, Richard.
Hello, everybody.
There he is,
There he
Hi.
is.
Hello.
a.k.a. Dada. We call him Dada.
The dada. Yes, yes.
Every time we get together with him, he's got more children. I don't understand.
Yeah. It just keeps. We're stopping at 3.
So for,
3 is a beautiful number.
for people who don't know Richard or haven't seen him before, we'd like to take the liberty at least to and then he can tell how everybody tells her how they got into the field thing. But we met him a couple years back. And so when you see us and you go, wow, those two are so busy. They're everywhere. Part of the reason why is Richard Moschella. He's doing a lot of mediumship events with Jill and Kim, the mediumship trio, with Lisa Morrison, with other groups, Full Moon, Parasite. And he drags us to everything. And we go willingly. Fantastic events, well organized, great places. And so he keeps busy. He keeps us busy. And one of the reasons we work with him so much is because, like what we say about Anthony Seminelli and some of our other friends like Raul and like Todd and Carmela, Lisa Marston's who are here right now. Yep. He is genuinely a good-hearted person. If you believe that intent and character has anything to do with the quality of what you're able to aggregate in the field, then that explains why what he does is amazing, because he's a genuinely good soul. His work, and he'll talk about it, is phenomenal. His work in spirit art. We have run Statacom concurrently with him, and we've heard stuff come through that was personal to people in the room. They owned it. That was so-and-so's name. I know who that is, whatever. And then he holds up one of his sketches at the end of the session, and they go, that's him. Then they pull out their phones, and they go, look. And he takes pictures. It looks like the picture, what he sketched, not knowing who was coming, not knowing anything about them or their family. So it's remarkable what he does. In my opinion, a far underappreciated, maybe through a lack of awareness, which hopefully this will tonight take a step in changing, of what that kind of a mediumship does. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
One of the ones he did, remember, was my father's father, my grandfather.
Yeah. He
sketched, but he never saw him. He never met him. And I showed it to my father, and he was like, can we say, yeah, we can say, holy shit, he said, said I,
We can
on
say
his
shit.
behalf. Yeah. So that's it. That's my diatribe on Dada, Shatner, Moschella.
What do I need to pay you for saying all that?
A lot, man, a lot. I was holding back all the insults in between those words. A lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those words, Ron. Thank you.
So, Richard, you've been on before, so tell everybody what you do.
Well, I'm a mediumship spirit artist. So what I do is I use mediumship, but being clairvoyant, what I do is I see, right? So as I enter a location, if I'm reading for my sitter, it's almost like watching a movie, like play out in your mind's eye. So you'll see the person, whether it appears like a portrait and they're just standing in front of you, or you see them in life. I do my best to capture the essence of the communicator. So it all starts with a sketch like this. It all starts with drawing what kind of a face, whether they're full face, whether they're really skinny face, and then you start seeing the hair. And at times it almost seems like it's impressed on the paper. Like I'll see where the hairline is, where the ears are, and then the nose, and then if there's facial hair, and then it just all starts coming together. And with that, you look for the evidence. So as the evidence is coming through, I'll see their hands. That's one of the things that I want to look at. And in my mind's eye, I'll see if they had rough hands or soft hands. And then their occupation starts to come through, and I'll see if they were dealing with paperwork or if they were working with tools. And then we just start building that evidence, because how I was taught with mediumship is it should be evidence-based, evidential mediumship. And this is something I enjoy working with Lisa Morrison. We both have been doing tons of events together, but we heavily stress evidential mediumship. And it's bringing forth the evidence to back up your communication with the spirit that you're working with. And that's through things they did in life, connections that they had, things they had in their home. And they literally, as you're reading, when you're connecting with spirit, they're showing you all this. They're walking you through their house. You're seeing the layout. You're seeing what kind of life they lived. It's almost, you're there and you're watching this movie play out before your eyes, and it's happening so fast. And you're trying to, for me, I'm capturing it all on that sketch. And at the end of my sketch, I think there's a video that you'll have, but the whole thing is just full of the evidence of what they did in life. If there's any connections to people, if they served in the military, I'll in my mind's eye, I'll see a flag that just starts waving. And then after that, I don't settle for that, because then that's settling for evidence. I want to press it more. Well, what about the flag? Were you Army? Were you Navy? Were you a Marine? If I see water, well, what about the water? Were you a fisherman? Were you a Navy man? What about that? And that's the thing. You got to keep, if you have that connection, keep working it and keep building the evidence. And that to me is very important with the work that we're doing, because anybody could go in there and just read a laundry list when you're connecting to spirit and be like, yep, I see a male. He liked water. He worked real hard. He had 3 kids. He was married. What about all this? Well, there was a man, right? You picking up on that male. He worked hard. Well, what about working hard? He had 3 kids. Everybody's connection to him with those 3 kids is going to be different. So we're working soul to soul. We need to dig more into why, maybe there's a connection with one of the kids that the other kid didn't have. Like he was harder on one of you. Okay. But the other 2 had it pretty easy. But Dad really, really was tough on the older boy. The Navy, he was regimented. So it just builds more of that conversation, more personal, and it really unearths that evidence that's meaningful to the person who's accepting that reading from you. So it's heavily evidence-based.
That's awesome. Now, you touched base on a video that kind of describes what you were just saying again. Let's go ahead and watch that. Let me get down to it. And real quick, for everybody in the comments, remember, Tony and Sheree are not here tonight, so if I happen to miss something in the comments, I apologize. I'll get to as many as I can as we go along, but here is that video. Here we go.
I'm Rich Moschella. I'm a medium who specializes in the technique of spirit art. And through spirit art, I try to capture the essence of the communicator who's coming through. For the sitter who's sitting across from me, and I try to capture their essence on paper and the evidential information that comes forward, whether it's dates and connections to people that are living, things they did in life, and I try to put that on the piece of paper around the essence that I just sketched. Once it's on paper, I can convey the evidential information that comes forward and connect this spirit to my sitter or to the location that I'm working at. So everything for me begins right here. So we're going to draw that circle. And this is what really dictates the size of the face. And I see the skinnier face, full face. So, and always trust in the spirit. And there you have it.
Hi, I'm Nicole. And I'm Lisa, and we are Full Moon Paranormal. And we have had the privilege of working with Rich Moschella on numerous investigations. And it's always exciting to see how his spirit, art, and his mediumship correlates with the investigations and really adds depth to it. A lot of times we'll be in one room doing a phasma box, doing an EVP session, and Rich will be in another drawing. And it's incredible because he'll be drawing things that correlate with the evidence that we're getting with our equipment. And if we get stuck and we're not really getting any responses, sometimes the spirits will actually respond to seeing their picture being drawn. And a lot.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's a
Yeah.
great testimonial coming from the ladies at Full Moon.
Yes, sir.
I love working with them. And that's like one team that, you know, they really get it right when they're investigating. They're public events. I love how they include the public to be part of the team. And I say this to them all the time. I've been to many of these, and I'm sure you guys have too, where you almost feel like you're being lectured to the entire evening, you know, and you're really not part of it. You're just being lectured to. But they make you feel welcome. They make you feel like you're part of the team. You're gathering that evidence. So any chance I have to work with them publicly or even privately, it's just an amazing experience. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Karen, he is. And
Absolutely.
we've seen this several times at events. There you go, Todd and Carmela.
It's always nice when someone
Keep
connects
going.
with one of his drawings. You know, it's just a beautiful thing when you see that. And we've had the privilege to see it a couple of times.
Wasn't it at the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum the last time?
That was
When he was pulling stuff about, we were getting stuff on Staticom that had to do with heart,
Oh yeah.
right, and how the person passed. It was specific stuff that was coming out, and everybody in the room heard it. And then he draws a picture, and there was somebody sitting in the first or second row on his side of the room who knew who it was, and they died of the causes that matched the words that we got at the same time he was drawing it.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
So it's
Yeah,
when
died
you
of a
turn
heart
the
attack.
sketch around and you start saying, you know, oh, I feel there's something going on with this man's chest. It was coinciding with what was coming through with your Staticom,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
and
it was remarkable.
the man raised his hand. He's like, that is my father. So
And that's how he died.
And he died of a heart attack. Yeah, that was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty much, you'll have that sketch and then all the evidence kind of just starts going around it from what they did in life. And that's the thing. If you're connecting with the spirit world, what my teachers have always taught me was if you have that connection, don't settle for just blasé things that you're going to get. Like, you know, oh, he liked to garden, or, well, what about it? What did he take pride in? Was there a certain thing that he liked to plant? And that builds upon that person. And even when 3 people come and they want to talk to dad, like I was saying before, everyone had a different relationship. You had a different deal with mom or dad than your brother or sister. So when we start connecting, we should be able to get that relationship, that dynamic, and bring it forth in the reading. Like I was saying, dad was hard on you. He expected more for you. But there's also an acknowledgement of you taking care of mom while the other 2 siblings didn't. This makes the reading extremely personal, rather than just doing a laundry list of, okay, he did this, he did that. Oh, okay, your reading is done. If you're connecting with spirit, you know, go with the flow, and have confidence in what you're receiving. And that to me was the biggest thing. Don't filter it. You know, as we're going into these places, right, and that imagery is happening and I'm sketching, the only thing that I'll filter is the way somebody died sometimes, if it's tragic, because the person that's getting the reading doesn't have to relive, you know, something harsh, like, you know, dad was killed in a certain way in a construction accident. You know, you could go as far as saying, I see it's an accident. You have to say, I see him being crushed, or, you know, because what we're doing is we're bringing forth healing, right? We're trying to show that there's that continuity to life, right? That there's something else after our physical dies. And they're coming to us, they're trusting us. And with that trust, you don't need to drag somebody through the coals and no. Harsh, you know, with all these harsh images.
Right.
That's the only time that we should be filtering, because you'll be surprised when things pop in. You'll be like, okay, wait, I'm seeing a Garfield doll. You know, you'd be like, well, why is that popping up in my head? That happened in a reading that I did. And all of a sudden, I mentioned it to my sitter, and they're like, my grandfather lived in Garfield. And that was her grandfather's way, because I lived in Lodi, which was the next town over from Garfield. If I just saw the town, I would think I was thinking about being home. But spirit is so intelligent that they knew if they showed me that Garfield, I would knew that it was for that reading that night for his granddaughter. And I brought it up. I said, what's up with the Garfield doll? And she said, that's the town that my grandfather grew up in. All of his friends were from Garfield. So it never ceases to amaze me at how intelligent the spirit world is and how they know how to use what you know to get the message through, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, I saw in the chat that Karen put, were you an artist before this? You weren't, right? Because your artwork, not being a trained artist in the beginning, was good, but it got better and better and better the more you did it. You focused on learning how to do it better, so that you were able to join the quality of what you were seeing with the quality of what you were able to share. Am I correct?
Yes. I probably last 6-7 years. I started, it's funny, and this is why spirit always puts us on the path that we need to be on. About 10 years ago, I got interested back into collecting comics, which is a huge money hole, right? Especially old vintage comics. But what that did was I wanted to learn how to draw. So I started to get little doodling books on how to draw comic book characters. And I would draw Batman, and I would draw other characters. And then as I started to develop more with my mediumship, and I started seeing these images, I would try to start drawing them. And at first, like I would show you, Ron, I'd be like, I see this guy. And it didn't look like my sketches now. I mean, it looked a little more like a stick figure. Okay. but if I could convey the way his hair was or what he was wearing, you know, the double-breasted suit, and there's the timepiece that he's holding, and there's a reference to an old clock. You know, if I could convey that, then I could present what I'm seeing to a historian that's on site and be like, who is this guy? Because I'm seeing him here. But because I got into drawing the comics, it started to show me what I needed to do. I learned shading. I learned face proportion. I learned body, how to draw bodies. And then from there, that was kind of like the push. Like, okay, now I know how to do this. I feel confident enough where I could turn it around to somebody and be like, this is who I see. But then I knew that that wasn't enough. So I had to keep working at it. So I remember I went to Michael's and I got it. I have a sketchbook, and the sketchbook, my kids are probably playing with it. Here it is. Faces and features. The best $20 anybody could spend, because this teaches you how to proportion a child's face over an older person's face or a younger person. You know, there is saggage, there is, you know, wrinkles, and this teaches you all the different noses, the different eyes. And I spent probably an entire summer just trying to learn how to do different eyes, different noses. And if you talk to anybody who teaches mediumship, they'll tell you, you have to be the best operating vessel for spirit to use. So when spirit knows that they can use you in a certain way, they will use you for that. So when you train yourself how to work with them, especially in this aspect where you could do spirit art, I feel like they want to work with you. They know our intentions. You know, I'm a firm believer where spirit knows who spirit wants to work with. And if they see you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, that bridge is already starting to meet. And I know that from you guys too. You know, when you sit down and you do Staticom week after week after week and you dedicate that time to spirit, spirit shows up. So the work that you guys are doing, the Rathmans are doing, you know, you guys are showing up. So spirit's going to show up for you. So I'm sure your results are going to be different from somebody who's just maybe occasionally dabbling in this. And the same thing with mediumship. When you dedicate yourself to a method, when you dedicate yourself to learning and developing, and you show up for them, they want to meet you. And I found that with my work and my studying, as I progressed from when I was just drawing those stick figures, and I started to show them, I want to learn how to draw you. And week after week, I would draw, and I would sketch. I'd be in my office sometimes if it was quiet. I'd be sketching faces. And then all of a sudden, friends would come in and be like, hey, can you do one for me? So I would start trying. I'd be like, okay, let me see if I could read for you. So their loved one would come in, and I would start sketching them. And I started presenting them to people, and that's what started getting my confidence. Because when I turned something around and they go, that looks just like my Uncle Gary, or that looks like my Aunt, you know, Jean. Well, there's no possible way for me to know what your aunt looked like. And then they take out the, you know, and then there's tons of those cell phones like, hey, look at this picture. You know, you got her hair. But that was the thing. Spirit put me on this path. I, you know, got that ignite, you know, I was ignited to draw the comic book guys, but then that kind of put me on the path to learn how to draw faces. And to this day, I'm still trying to improve myself. And I take classes weekly on how to develop and how to become a better medium, how to work with spirit better. Like they say, like, you're never done learning. And I tell this to everybody, no matter if you're James Von Prague, John Edward, you know, you gotta keep learning, keep reading. You know, there's tons of books out there. This is a great book, Pathway to Mediumship by Jackie Wright, one of the greatest spiritualist teachers out there. Covers principles and methods on how to connect with spirit. And she talks about that, being the vessel. You know, we are the vessel for spirit to communicate with. And they work through symbolism. You know, we work with them and they drop us signs and symbols that we need to perceive. And
well,
that
that's
also
one thing, because you're talking about symbolism, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's one of the things that sticks out with you, because yes, even when you were drawing the stick figures, people would connect with those drawings because you are very detailed with personal stuff that you put in. It's not just the face. You add certain things in there that gives, you know, the essence of the person. And then, you know, you improved with your drawings, which made it a lot better. But even then, when you weren't that great of a drawer, even though they're pretty good, because I can't draw shit, but the essence you still capture with the little details that you would put in there, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
And
let's
and
talk
that
about
is the evidence. That is evidence-based mediumship. When you could provide all those details that brings that spirit back to life for that person sitting in front of you, or the location that you're reading for, that is what connects it. You know, that to me is, if you could provide 20 or 40 major pinpoints on that person that makes it unique to that person, that is what really connects it, you know, because anybody could draw a sketch and be like, this is the guy that's here. Well, what about this guy? You know, now besides talking about sitters, when we go into a location, I mean, anybody could draw. We're walking into a home from the 1900s. This is what a 1900s guy looked like. I feel like he's here. Well, what about this guy?
So don't discredit yourself. Let me show a couple of your sketches, because just your sketches alone are enough to send the message. Not, I mean, evidence on top of it is fantastic, but we can talk we can talk while these are being shown, but
because also I want to circle back to Raul's question for him, because I think that's a good question. The audience would want to know
That's
the
an
answer.
earlier one.
Yeah. That's an earlier one. But you can see that he has
Definitely see how it improves.
Yeah, you see how it improves, but you can still see that that's the hat, the eyes, even the lips.
The cheeks. I was trying to focus on like cheeks, the mouth.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, let's take a look at another one. I mean, the details, without the evidence that you get with it in your mediumship, Richard, the details that you get just in the drawing.
That one's awesome.
Yeah, that one, right, Richard?
Yeah,
that's when you overlaid the sketch, right?
Yeah, and you could see how it just falls right onto where her eyes are, where her, where the lines where it lines up by her cheeks.
Yeah, and just to point this out, because anybody who doesn't know could easily make this mistake in interpretation, you drew the face that's in the second picture of the sketch that you overlaid over the original to show where it matches. When you drew that, you didn't have the picture that you overlaid it to.
Nothing. Nope.
No.
Yeah,
Nothing.
That was drawn before the picture, y'all.
Yes, that's
amazing.
Wait, weeks before, without access to the person, not even knowing who they were, where they existed, anything. He just that's what he got, and then then it overlaid over it too. I love the explanation for it and how it comes to him too, because even for us, operating under analytic idealism philosophy of mind, right? Nature's working through us. We are the vessel through which universal phenomenal consciousness learns about itself, because we are metacognitive. Metaphor, symbolism are ways that synchronicities and things that we're meant to know or see will come through to us. And this is exactly what is part and parcel with his process. And the accuracy level, to me, is beyond dismissal. You could not believe in mediumship, but I think, right, when we look at something, when people talk from like a scientific point of view, right, you have to meet, and we talk about this with ITC, you have to meet a prima facie level of plausibility to make something worth looking into. I think he surpasses that. I think there is something here of substance to be looked into, but it's amazing.
Absolutely, yep.
And there have been many, greats that really did mediumship combined with spirit art a long time ago. Coral Polge, who's a hero of mine. Frank Lee, another guy from the early 1900s. But Polge, she would do kind of like how Bocce did with his sessions. Polge would go into places, into huge lecture halls, and do spirit art. And she would connect with people's loved ones. She would connect and do these beautiful sketches. And people started to say, Coral, you're amazing. Coral, you're the... And she would turn around and go, we're merely telephone lines. And I love that quote from her. We're merely telephone lines for spirit to use. Not about getting your ego all up and, oh, I'm so amazing. I'm so great. Spirit's working through you. So if I truly feel this way. If anybody gets the credit, it's spirit for working through you. And how she said we're only telephone lines, I truly believe that. And I think everybody out there has the ability. It's just learning how to use it. It's a muscle, learning how to work with it, how to trust it, how to know it's not a daydream that's coming through, that it's coming to you and not from you. And it's learning how that works. It's also learning symbolism. And I believe if anybody dedicates enough time to learning this, if you truly want to be a medium, if you truly want to be psychic, you could open up that gift that everyone has, the gift of intuition. And we all have it at different levels. Some people learn how to play the piano and they're Elton John, but then some people, they could play maybe a few little chords, and they don't get it. Some people never learn how to play it. It's all about dedication and how much time you put into learning something, because I feel anybody can actually do this. We all have that gift, that intuitive gift. We all say, oh, I had a gut, I had a gut feeling. I had a gut. Well, get gut out of there. You're having intuitive knowing that you should do something, you should not do something, and intuitive knowing about people that come into your life. Like, I got a bad vibe about this person. Well, what is that? It's intuitive knowing.
That's right.
And we all could build upon that. But some people, think it's too woo-woo. and they just, okay, yeah, no, it's not for me. Or, they just don't want to work at it, So I honestly feel there are tons of books out there. The one by Kay that was mentioned here in the comments, Kay Reynolds, she has an amazing book all about evidence-based mediumship. Yes, I did read that one. And she went to the Arthur Findlay College, which is in Europe. It's a school all about mediumship. You could go there and learn all different kinds of courses. I've actually taken courses there through Zoom. And it's taught by mentors and mediums that are doing this work for years. And you'll train with spirit artists. You'll train with people that are just psychic. But it's important to learn everything. And that's who I am. I want to learn about energy. I want to learn about energy healing, meditation, psychic work, mediumship work, because it all goes into the same umbrella. And once you learn about how energy works, how you learn about Reiki and the chakras and getting yourself in tune, it all falls into what you're doing as a practicing medium or psychic or even an intuitive. So learn as much as you can and you'll see what you gravitate towards. But all that other stuff does help, especially when you try to connect to spirit. You need to raise your vibration up. Spirit, I feel, lowers theirs, and that connection is made. And that, to me, is definitely through breath work, being able to take a deep breath, kind of get that monkey chatter out of your mind and try to connect to what's coming to you from spirit and knowing the difference, because we could all say this is coming from me or this is coming from the spirit world. And once you start learning how that works and how they use that symbolism to come in, you'll start to be able to be like, okay, these aren't my thoughts. These are coming from the location. These are coming from the spirit communicator. And that's what starts making you a really good medium, is when you could know when to turn it on, when to turn it off.
Yeah.
We've actually got Ron was kind enough to send us a couple Statacom clips of investigations done with you. So not only do you make that connection with your spirit art, not only do you make the connection with the people connected to your spirit art, but you also make the connection through Statacom.
Yeah, I think anytime you've seen some of the mediums in the chat, Kim Geyer, the Ghost History medium, Lily Morrison, anytime we've been with a really gifted medium when we do Statacom, there is an enhancement, I think, in what we get and how well it works. Richard is no different from that. And it's funny because I saw that Michaela in the thing before said that Richard and Lisa make a great team, to which I completely agree. But I think that you could make that statement with Richard and you could fill in a lot of our names. And I think that says something about him, right? Because when somebody has problems with everybody, you go, well, the common denominator is you. You need to fix you. When it's the other way around, sometimes maybe it gets lost, the point gets lost, or it's just like a given. But he works well with everybody, and that's why everybody wants to work with him. And so, yeah, you're going to show, I guess I sent a couple of clips. There was one specifically that I wanted to have, and I didn't have it on the drive that's hooked up there. It's on my other drive, so I didn't have it to send. But
you didn't hear?
Not that one. No.
All right, it's okay.
So which one do you want to see? Do you want to see first the Resi NGPP talking to Rich?
Yeah, why not? That's an older one. That was still direct radio voice. That's pre Statacom.
Still shows connection.
It's still good. And funny too, I'm reading the comments from Karen and from Roger and stuff in the chat, stuff that people have said who have worked with Richard before. I know some people have this dismal interpretation of the field because there are pockets of drama going on. But if you surround yourself with the people like this, you don't have that experience. That's not our paranormal field. That's not what we see.
No, and there's sorry, soapbox real quick. The easiest way to get around the drama pockets in the paranormal, y'all, is disconnect from the negative.
Yeah.
We do it when we
and just letting go of ego.
Right. You just disconnect from the negative. We do it.
It's not about us.
No.
It's not about you. It's not about, it's about us being in service. And I truly feel it's us being in service to spirit And why we're all doing this is to help prove the continuity of life, that the physical body does die, but that light that made that loved one who they were still survives death and still can be communicated with. And we see that in all of the work through Staticom, through mediumship, through the paranormal investigating, that does happen. And if we could convey that to those people in our attendance that are sitting there, to the sitters, to the people watching this program, that your loved one still is there, still comes to the wedding, still sees your children grow up, that's amazing. And if that could just help them a little bit with the grief that they're going through, it might not take it all away, but if it could help just a little bit, then we're doing our job.
Yep. And unless you're doing a private investigation where you're there to help get rid of the negative, in a normal investigation, in a group setting, when you've come across something spiritually negative, most people back away, right? Why do you do it with the living? Back away from the negative, fill yourself with positive, like you see on the screen right here. Let's go ahead and let's listen to that one, the Talking to Rich. Let's take a listen.
If you recognize Richard from being here before, could you say his name, please?
You're talking to me.
Yeah, well, I like the one that said we love Richard.
Yeah, well, I love them too.
That was an older one, and it
older.
was slowed down entirely. That was before we were slowing down the white noise in real time.
Yep.
Yeah, you could tell
Just
it was slowed down.
working with you guys with
Staticom. What's that, Richard?
Just working with you guys with like Staticom is amazing. And we could be doing that mediumship and have messages like that coming through where they're acknowledging, talking, to the medium like that. That's just mind blowing in itself.
Yeah, I love when that happens.
You know what I might be able to, the one that she was talking about, I can actually, if it looks like I'm looking away, it's not the demonic flies thing that Tony Rathman made a video about.
But it will make our next blooper reel. Go ahead.
But I can look real fast. I can maybe get you the YouTube link. You can do a share screen to show it, because that was the one that was really personal to him.
Yeah.
That we got, and he did a testimonial for the docuseries on Paraflix, Knowingly Talking to the Unknown. And I watched his testimony when he sent it over. He goes, I hope it's okay. I think I did all right. I don't know. He's all hesitant. And I watched it and I went, he's amazing. He's such a good speaker. That's another thing. He's a great author. And he's a phenomenal speaker. And that's why we tease him all the time too, because he did this. He goes, you hear nothing. And I watched it going, that's Shatner. He needs to be hosting shows about unexplained stuff. That is as good as Shatner. Like, it's amazing. So we tease him all the time with the nothing thing, but I mean, in actuality, he's really good at it. He's got a great voice.
Well, thank you. Well, that one night, that Ron, he calls me up and he goes, Rich, we had an event the following night, right, Ron? And you said that this Rosie voice came through, and you're like, did you have someone in your family named Rosie? And I said, no, I don't have a Rosie. I asked my mom, is there any people like long ago, Rosie? She goes, no, there's no Rosie. And I said to Ron, I go, this could possibly be spirit coming in, knowing that we have an event with Lisa Morrison the following night with our first, mix up of Staticom with Seance. So we went to that event and I said, I'm going to lean into this Rosie because I feel like she might be for someone out there in the audience. So that night, first person that I try to, sketch and capture that essence of was Rosie, right? I do her hair. I said, she has these little stud earrings. She's showing me her hands and her hands aren't really working that good. But then I see her hands sewing and I see like that aspect of her life. So she worked really hard, probably a factory, like a seamstress. So I started talking about that. And a woman at the end of the night, she raised her hand. She comes up, she goes, Rosie was my mom, and she was a seamstress. And her hands at the end of her life were crippled with the arthritis. And she accepted the sketch. She accepted the information. And that to me was amazing, how Spirit knew that where we were going to be the following night, pushing to the front of the line to make sure that her loved one got that message. So again, amazing how Staticom and mediumship could kind of intertwine to present that information to a sitter.
Yeah, it is amazing. But I mean, we do this often at events, often. We do it at home often. And when we can tell the difference when somebody is present, and how the efficacy and the method changes, it happens when we work with you. That's undeniable to us.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And for me to be receiving this through mediumship and then actually be able to hear their voices come through, that's mind blowing to the medium. I know all the time, Lisa, Kim Geyer, we're just blown out of the water when we hear what we're hearing that nobody else hears that's coming through your speakers.
It is mind blowing.
That's their voice.
Yeah.
And you can tell male, female, child.
Every time I hear it, I just get amazed because I guess the way I see it, we're always doing it. So I don't want to say used to the voices, but voices come through. So when you guys say something and it comes through, I'm amazed how you guys came up with that information. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
They both pieces work really well together. It just does.
All right, so Ron has sent me those clips. Sorry, guys. I'm glad you guys get along and can talk because I got so much going on over here. So Ron has sent me those 2 clips. Let me go ahead and show these.
So yeah, Richard, I sent him the Rosie one because that was recent. I didn't even think to include that. But as long as this is not a Staticom show, and I do not want in any way, shape, or form, because of the amount of love and respect we have for him, to take away from how truly remarkable what he does and the person he is. I don't want to take away from that in the least. This is not about us, but I guess because it's Richard oriented stuff, it's okay. if he wants it to be shown, because this is his show.
Totally, because that really shows how the two kind of blend, and I think that's very interesting.
And I was going to add to that
in the form of Staticom actually work.
Yes, and we've got other pictures and sketches that Richard has given me that I'm going to show, and we've got other testimonials about his spirit art that I'm going to show. And yes, this is about Richard. The reason we are showing this, and I asked Ron to show it to me, is because I want you guys to see the connection not only between what Richard gets with the people that he works with, but what Richard gets with the people that he draws for, and how close and accurately he is with the pictures of the people he's drawing. But I also wanted to show you the results from his connection with the spirits that comes through Staticom when Ron and Lourdes are there. It's not about the Staticom. It's about the connection that Richard makes with the Staticom. And that's why I asked Ron to send me those. So let's go ahead. So Ron is absolutely right.
It's noticeable for us. Absolutely noticeable.
Yep.
Not to say that Staticom's not flipping awesome, but so is
right.
Richard.
I'm not saying that we get nothing.
But so is Richard, and I want to show those connections. So here, there we go. And
shared audio?
Yeah, I shared audio, but the 3 of us, the 3 screens are going to have to be quiet because we'll still be able to talk during it.
I'm going to mute mine.
All right. Here we go.
Richard? Richard's family? Which Richard? What last name? What's his surname? Richard who? Moschella? I thought I heard Moschella. If I'm correct, say spirit art. Moschella. He's sleeping? You have a message for him? Who has a message for Rich Moschella? Who? Rosa? Did you say Rosa? How would he know Rosa?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that Moschella.
And the part when they said that I was sleeping, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
I have a 5, a 4, and a 4-month-old, and we go to bed like 8:30 at night, and that was like 12 o'clock at night, Ron.
Yeah.
That's why
So
every
I
time
was
I hear it, I
sleeping in
laugh.
bed. So they're like, "He's out cold. We're coming to you."
There's something interesting in there about halfway through, after it already said Moschella, right before Ron asks another question, it doesn't come back through Staticom, but there's an EVP in there that says Moschella.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
need to go back and listen to it.
Okay.
It sounds like it's underlying. Nobody else is speaking. You hear Moschella. It's below it. And
That's
it's not
interesting.
Staticom. So you got an EVP on top of the Staticom.
See, Roger heard it too. That first Moschella, and we speak like this sometimes in life. The last syllable or vowel or something will drop, right? They go, "Hey, Rich Moschella," and the kind of like, but you don't really say right? You don't pronounce it. So I asked for it again. That second Moschella was undeniable.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was clear.
Yeah,
I
it's
played it
either
for
in
my
between
wife,
those
and
two or-
she's like so spooked out. She's like, "They came to the house and they knew you were sleeping."
They don't have to come to the house, right? Non-locality. They knew.
Yeah. Well, and then I had to like explain that to her. And she's like, "Okay, you just keep doing your thing." But
They
Yeah,
tuned
I'm
into
like,
your frequency. They got the American flag and the Star Spangled Banner, like TV used to go off the air years ago. That's what they got.
But it's just just thinking about the whole process of it, right? So they knew
Go ahead.
that you're connected with us
There
and
it
you
is.
do what you do.
and we had
And
that
so-
mediumship event the following night, and that their
Yeah.
loved one bought a ticket, was going to be in attendance. This is all the things that
Yeah.
spirit, they say, sees things like on a 100-story building. They see everything. They see and we're down on the ground, so we only see what's in front of us. So this shows you how intelligent the spirit world is. They see that. They know that their loved one is going to be there, and they know what they're going to do to come through. And sometimes they could be a little pushy, like Rosie. She came through the night before and was like, "Hey, Ron, you're going to tell Rich that I came through, and he's going to know that this is for somebody in attendance the following night." And that's what we did, and that connection was made. So I give a lot of credit to Rosie, knowing that I'm working with you, coming through your system, checking in on me, and she knew I was sleeping.
That was our Garfield.
Right.
The Garfield on the car. So that to me is amazing when you could show that and be like, this is how intelligent the spirit world is.
Right. Well, here's how intelligent Richard's abilities are. So he gets and sees and draws items like this.
Jeez. Again, it has to be brought up without ever having seen the person or knowing who the person is at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, remember he did the sketch on the left or on your right, however you're seeing it on your screen, prior to seeing the picture of the gentleman next to it.
Yeah.
And let's look at Richard's progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Come on now.
Yeah.
You see all the evidence all around it, mentioning grandchildren.
But not only
So-
did you get the hairline, the beard, y'all,
Roger.
the wrinkles.
Yeah.
Yep. And Roger mentioned the nose flare. I mean, yeah, there are
Like,
nuances that he
seriously.
captures
Right.
that make it harder and harder to say that maybe it's not that person. It's
Yeah.
Right. Here's one.
I
Those
like
are
that.
early ones too.
That's an
That's
early
Good
before I
one.
started using the Conti crayons that I use now,
Right.
which are a charcoal, which are easier for blending. But that's just straight pencil.
yeah,
But
the
the only
charcoal.
difference between
Charcoal
this,
looks good.
yeah, and the only difference between the gentleman he drew compared to the picture that was shown to him after he drew it is the guy is smiling. Well, looks like he's smiling or smelt a fart, but he's showing his teeth in one, and Richard drew him without the teeth showing. This one's a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
now
one-
you're starting to get into the Conti crayons, where I could shadow and
Yeah, the charcoal is funny. We did the event with Richard 2 weeks ago in Morristown, New Jersey, the Arboretum, and he came to meet us at the restaurant. We got there before him, and he walks in, and were you just changing the oil in your car? Like his hands were black.
The charcoal.
And he was doing something during the day, so he had the charcoal still in his hands.
Well, what's interesting
had a private
about
party.
this picture with Richard is it's almost like he was sketching before he saw the picture, because if you look at the skin tone of the lady, her skin tone is not that dark. But if Richard was envisioning the picture that they were going to show him later, the contrast from the older picture would have given him a different facial tone when he was drawing it. So not only was he picking up the person and the details of the person in this picture, but it was almost like he was picking up the contrast from the photo that he's about to be shown.
Yeah. And at times that does happen. I'll sketch a photo. Like there's one sketch that I did where there's two people in it. And I showed it to the person. I go, they're showing me that you have this picture, and it's grandma here, and there's grandpa here, and he has his arm kind of around her, and he's leaning in, and that's the sketch I did, and I showed it to her. She sends me the photo the following day and goes, "You actually captured that photo that I have on my nightstand."
Wow.
That one?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And again, with the flag within the box, how there's the square flag there with he served with the military. They have that up on their mantle.
The memorial flag when they fold it 13 times and put it in the case. Yeah.
Yep, he loved to play cards. That was another thing. He had a brother that would come over and they would get into some heated card games. The wrench, he worked fixing pipes. He was a plumber. So there were all these facts that come through that present that evidence. So, and you see there, that's just a glimpse at it. But that's capturing a photo, but even before I knew the photo even existed.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
trip.
amazing. Amazing.
He does look like a Tom Collins put my slippers on when I get home type of guy, doesn't he?
Tom Collins.
Sorry, couldn't help it. But let me show a couple more.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is a man that I worked with. That's his aunt. He came into my office and he goes, "You're on break?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I lost my aunt. It's been a year. Do you think you could sketch her for me?" Immediately when he walks in my room, her image just pops into my head. I go, "She has like real short hair." I said, "I see her with glasses." And I saw like a woman's cancer. So I saw like the pink like ribbon in like my head with her. And I said, and I see it's a long battle. I see her withering away. And like she was strong. And then I just see her like wilting. It's like a flower just starting to. And that through me was the symbolism of like her being sick for a while. And it was a long illness. Sometimes when I see short, it's almost like a book closing. And that to me is short. We all have different ways that we work with symbolism. So that's mine. But the wilting of the flower, I'm like, it was a long suffering. So I was able to bring that out to him, and the evidence just linked right up to her. And you saw in that sketch. And here's, another one where it's overlaid and you see it just fits right over the picture.
Yeah.
The cheeks, the chin, yeah. Shape of the nose is almost dead on.
Yeah.
Oh. That's not it.
What happened?
Yeah.
That is one of the staticoms that you sent me. Sorry.
Oh, right on.
No worries, no worries.
All right. So let's see somebody talking good about you, Richard. Other than us and Ron, or me and Ron and Lord. So these are people. These are people that Richard has directly worked with. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Jill Marie Kelly, and I am a psychic medium and Reiki master teacher. I've known Rich for a couple of years now, and I met him through a friend, and we both started talking at a family gathering and realized that we both had the paranormal in common. So he invited me to an investigation, and I had never been to one. Being a medium my whole life, I had never participated in a paranormal investigation. And he and his people had so much respect and were so great and were so amazing with their skills. And he asked me to participate a little bit and read some of the spirits that I was sensing. And it was just a really cool experience. I was glad that I could give my 2 cents and help out. And then our friendship kind of blossomed, and he started doing his spirit art, and as well as writing all these wonderful books that I love. And his spirit art was really amazing because he literally captures the essence of the spirit. And I'm clairvoyant, but Lord knows I cannot draw what I see, and he can draw what he sees, and it's spot on. And I was lucky enough the last time we were together. We do events together. We are part of what we call the Mediumship trio. It's me, Rich Moschella, and Kim Geyer. And we do events together where we do readings as a group, and Rich will draw the spirit. So the last time we were together at the event, my parents happened to be there, and Rich came up with this woman who was Italian, who was very small, and really her hair was important to her, and he started drawing her, and it wound up to be my grandmother. And my dad got his first reading from a medium that was not me, so I had to step out of it, actually, and let Kim and Rich take over because I didn't want to taint the reading. But he drew my grandmother, and like, it was wild how accurate the drawing was. And he does that for all of the people he reads for. It's really amazing. And he's got so much knowledge and so much history that he knows about spirit art. And it's just, he's just a very comfortable person to talk to. His readings are excellent. And I feel privileged to be a colleague of his and to work with him as much as I do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's a talented trio, by the way, too.
Yeah.
That trio that's a lot of talent on one stage.
Jill Marie Kelly and Kim Geyer. I mean, not only do we link with spirit, we triple link. So when we're linking, the three of us are linking to that same spirit and getting evidence to present to our sitters. And luckily, like, every event that we do is usually sold out within 2 to 3 weeks of us posting it. So, there's, a lot of people that are really loving what we're doing. And I said, as long as we keep doing these events, I'm totally into keep doing more of them with you. So
I want to point something out that I noticed, Richard, in some of your videos where you were actually doing sketches. Everybody pay really close attention to people with abilities when they're on an investigation, when they're doing drawings like Richard does. A medium that is picking up energies and starting to transmit and starting to connect and take on messages, or somebody with abilities that does that, they have what's called a tell. You got your poker tells, you've got your in law enforcement, you've got your lying tells, you've got your activity tells. People with high energy, when their brain's getting high energy levels, you'll see them doing certain things. When I'm on an investigation, you'll see me constantly going like this, looking around. When the energy gets super high, my dad did this when he was nervous. I do this when the energy gets really high. My hands start shaking. Richard goes, right. And that is a tell. It's called a tell. That means their brain is getting a high level of energy activity, and that's what's happening when he's drawing. So next time some of you are at some of his events, watch him when he's drawing. That's
No.
when you can tell he's starting to pick energies up like crazy. I noticed a couple of your videos. It was your
Wow.
tell. Yeah.
Yeah, or he's hungry, and in which case, throw him a slice.
Throw him something because he started to chew his lip. Now I've got another one that Ron sent me that connects directly with Richard. Let me
Which one is this?
This is the direct radio voice one. The Richard, I love you.
Oh,
my God.
that's the
I am
that's
not-
my favorite one.
I am not going to tell the story. He needs to tell the story. I am, to quote him, and I love this too, by the way, because under analytic idealism philosophy that we now perpetuate here, nature is working through us. So I don't take credit for this, but this was insane when it happened, and I sent it to him, and he can tell the story.
I love this one.
You
Go
want
ahead
me to
and
tell it, or you want to play it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Ron sends me a message. He's like, are you home? I'm like, yeah. So he sends me the clip. I'm sitting out on my back deck with my kids, and he goes, I have a file. I want you to listen to it. So I played it. I listened to it once, and the voice sounds so familiar, but I haven't heard that voice in over 10 years. And it was my grandmother. And it was a simple message. It was, Richard, I love you, feel it. And being a medium, we can't read for ourselves, right? Because we don't know if it's coming to us or from us. Those memories that we have could be us just thinking of those loved ones. So for her to use Ron Staticom to come through during a investigation for a family that we were at, so my loved one came through someone's investigation just to let me know, Richard, I love you, feel it, because I talk to my people every day. I talk to my loved ones. I talk to my grandparents, and I always say, Grandma, I love you, and if somehow you can let me know that you can hear me, well, she did. And she did it through Staticom and through that public investigation that we did at this man's home. But it was the following day when I listened to the file and I heard, I love you, feel it. It was just mind blowing. I played it for my grandmother, my uncle, and everyone says that's Grandma's voice. So this shows you we're at an investigation that's not my family's house, and my loved one came through with this message.
All right, here we go. And we need to mute ourselves because we're going to be able to talk.
Yep, hang on.
Here we go.
Okay.
Who are we speaking with?
That was awesome.
Incredible. And to hear the voice change from that other voice that was saying some things there.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I don't know if you guys see him here, but I was like, oh.
Yeah. But that older voice comes in, and you could tell it wasn't there, and it's her voice. That is how she spoke, even how she pronounced her, like her words, like that was her. And for her to come through that way was just, I was, just like taken so off guard, because here I am waiting for evidence for the family. I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to hear? And it was for me. And for weeks after that, I'm like, wow, that just reiterates how our loved ones hear what we're thinking, what we're saying. They know that we miss them. So I tell everybody when I do my readings, talk to your people, tell them you miss them, tell them you love them, because they hear you, and you could ask for those symbolisms and signs. And I say this at all of the mediumship readings that, I do. Ask for signs, make them hard. I did a lecture, and we're sitting there, and I said, ask for a penguin. How often in your day do you see penguins? You see cardinals a lot because they're on mailboxes and flags, But ask for a penguin. I came home that night. The following morning, I go to my mailbox. There's an oil tank flyer with a penguin on it in my mailbox. Okay. The following day, I go to work at the hospital that I work at, and my screensaver has 14 penguins on an iceberg. So I was getting penguins for like 4 days straight, like right in my face kind of penguins. like where there shouldn't be penguins, I was getting penguins. So make it hard. Another thing, I was heading home from work and I said, hey, Grandma, I want a walrus. How often do you get walrus? Get in my car. I Am the Walrus is playing by the Beatles. So, you know, it's things like that where you throw out and you get back and they mean so much to you because they're harder than just a cardinal, right?
You make a great valid point, Richard. It's we all look for the burning bush, right? We watch for somebody to walk across water. We miss the little signs. Like, for instance, my dad, since he passed away in 2006, he loved the show MASH. I couldn't stand it. You won't ever catch me watching that show ever. But that man watched
that opening song is tough.
He watched every episode probably 1 million times. I will be walking along and all of a sudden that theme song will pop in my head and I'll stop and take a breath and go, hi, Dad. I miss you. I love you. I know it's him.
Yeah.
Most people will disregard stuff like that and go, hey, I don't know why the hell I'm thinking about that. That's just weird. Who does it relate to? That's how they connect. It's the small signs that you dismiss. A butterfly came by, a cardinal came by. That happens every day. I live in North Carolina. I see 5 cardinals a day. Doesn't mean my dad's here. Look for those specific signs, the little ones that
make it hard.
Yeah, they make it hard for them.
These are synchronicities.
I think they love a challenge.
I mean, I have one when we moved here and we were doing, well, it was still direct radio voice, right?
Yes.
Still doing direct radio voice, and I'm outside and I'm smoking and I'm looking because where we live, there's wooded area in the back. And I'm looking and I had to just said, if I'm on the right path, show me a bald eagle. And then like in a couple of days, I see a bald eagle. Not only did I see the bald eagle, there's a bald eagle's nest now in the back of the house there. Yeah. And I was like, that's it. I'm in the right path. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of difficult. And I was shocked when I saw the bald eagle and then it built a nest. I was so happy and shocked at the same time.
Yeah, they're amazing. These are, from our perspective, when we speak, these are archetypal synchronicities. Right. If there is one universal consciousness of which we are alters or dissociated from, then nature's working through us. These archetypal patterns will show up, nature expressing itself both through what we perceive to be the outside world and through us. And that's examples of it right there.
Yeah, those are all examples. It's amazing how that happens.
And I'll give you one more great example. I was going through a really hard time in my life. And I was driving to work one day, and I talked to my dad all the time, and I said, Dad, if I'm on the right road, you tell me if I'm on the right road. And then I just let it be quiet. I'm sitting in traffic. I turned on the radio, and the first thing that comes through the radio makes me want to take a back road.
Yeah.
Now, come on. Somebody's telling me, nope, you're going down the wrong road. Go this way.
Yeah. That's a synchronicity.
Yeah.
That's an amazing synchronicity.
It was huge. It slapped me in the face. But most people ignore stuff like that. Oh, it's just a song on the radio. Well, no, you just asked a specific question and you got a specific answer. You just got to pay attention to the answers coming to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Edward, said as his mother was passing, she was on the same page with him with the afterlife, and he established a sign. He's like, Mom, if you come through in a reading for me through another medium, I want your sign to be this. And they both picked a sign that was just unique to them, that if it came through, it would be, without a doubt, it's Mom. And Winnie the Pooh was his childhood, stuffed toy. He loved Pooh, and that was what he used. So as he went to mediums, and had a fantastic reading, Pooh would always come through. And that to him was mom. Mom is there.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
So I say, while your loved one is here, if they're okay with it, establish a sign. Say, this is what I would want if I went to a medium for you to bring through, and that's awesome to have while they're still alive.
So I've got one more testimonial that I want to play for you, Richard, because I love seeing people talk good about people in our field, because that just amplifies your integrity and the way that you treat others. And I love giving examples of that and making sure that everybody sees what type of person you are and how phenomenal you are. So here's one more testimony. And guys, I could have gotten 10 more, but we didn't have time. So, so let's go ahead and play this one. Here we go.
So I had a reading with Rich not that long ago, and honestly, it was the most amazing experience I've ever encountered in my life. I've always been a skeptical type of person, and I've always wondered about what it was about the other side. So I hit him up, and I had such an incredible reading. So he does something a little bit different that I thought was amazing, unlike Teresa Caputo that just does, whatever. So he does spirit art, and this is one of his drawings. And it was actually my grandfather, who just recently passed 2 years ago. He started off with seeing pipes and stuff, because my grandfather was a boiler guy with the black label certificate. It's very rare to find. He had COPD, and he was just like a family guy. And he said he started seeing boats, so he was also loved the Navy. So it was such an amazing experience, and I will 10 out of like 10 recommend.
Wow.
Yeah, and with her grandfather, as I'm doing the reading, I see a black seal and pipes, and I know trade work, and I'm like, I have to mention a black seal. I'm seeing a black seal. Did he have and he was a boiler man, and he had a black seal, so I put that in the sketch. The lungs and having COPD, I put that into the sketch, and this is everything that kind of brought him back to life for her.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Without ever knowing that the person existed.
Yeah.
No.
With no foreshadowing.
They sit with you for 20 minutes to a half hour, and they're sitting across from you, and I tell them, I just need yes or no's. I don't need you to elaborate on things. When the reading's over, if you want to talk, we totally can talk. But when I'm sitting there, I just want yeses and no's. And no's, I'll get into this in case anybody out there is trying to learn mediumship. No's can throw you, right? So if I'm reading for you and I say this heavier man is coming through, and he has like a fatherly figure, with you, and you go, well, my dad was skinny. I could get frazzled. I could be like, well, now I get back into like my logical thinking, and I'm like, well, who? But if we use that no as a guardrail, right, and we come back into the reading, and we're like, well, who is this bigger man that's coming in that was like a father figure to you? Okay, could have he been? Oh, okay, now I get it. This is your father's brother who was the bigger man. He's showing me that he, and this brings us back on track. So the no's are our guardrail. And if we learn that, we kind of learn how to get back on track in the reading, because sometimes things aren't clear. It's like a game of charades sometimes as these things are dropping in, and we're using our best ability to figure out, okay, this is what this means to me. Well, when I present that to you, it could mean something totally different.
Right.
And it's just working it and just figuring it out and not giving up on that connection, because even the best mediums sometimes are 80-90% in a reading that they're getting right, but there is that space where they might get something wrong. And it's not that they're having a bad day, it's just they're perceiving something the wrong way. So if anybody out there is doing mediumship and you're getting those no's, try to think of those no's as your guardrail, right? And when you get them, just kind of get on track and ask Spirit, can you be more clear? Can you be more clear? Who was that bigger man that was coming through? And he's showing me a fatherly figure. Maybe he was a mentor. Maybe he was a teacher that you had that was more like a fatherly figure to you than your own father. This is something that gets us back on track. and keeps the reading flowing.
Right. Well, and I'm not a medium by any means at all, but my first thought when you started talking about this, Richard, is you got to remember the person sitting in front of you too is probably hoping that one person comes through, and it might not be that person coming.
No. And sometimes that does happen when you're doing a reading for someone and they're so headstrong. Mom's coming through, and then her sister comes through. And she says, I didn't really want to hear from my aunt. I wanted to hear from my mom. And I always allow, that to happen. I mean, if you do want to hear from mom, we could take a little bit of time. I could try to focus on mom, but I can't force mom to come through. I can't force that connection to happen. Mom's going to have to want to communicate at that time. And I always say, when you go to mediums, different people come through at different times. Right. I actually had a reading where I had a neighbor that came through that knew me from when I was a kid. I had to think for a second, Fred, and then everything just went like right into a full circle of Fred's life. And I'm like, I remember him now. It just, whoever comes through, it's like the spirit that steps to the front of the line, the strongest energy, that's who comes through then. So somebody who gets read this month, you go to a medium next month, you'll have different people possibly that come through. And it doesn't mean that your loved one doesn't care. It's just they're not coming through as strong at that time. And that medium is doing their best to get that strongest energy and pull them into the reading. And that's who shows up. So that's what I always say, be open to who comes through.
Yeah. And people got to remember too, that the people that they want to come through, there's still that emotional connection. They still love and care about you. If you're not prepared for a message from them, they're not going to come through and do something that's going to hurt you. No, they want to come through light. They're not going to want to come through that's something that's, if you're not prepared to hear from them yet, they're not going to do anything that's going to emotionally hurt you or damage you. So they'll wait till you're ready.
Yeah. And sometimes you're not ready for that connection with mom. It might be too heart-wrenching. You might still be, wallowing in grief, so it might be too soon for that to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, people sit in readings and they want to know about the money. They want to know about the material things. And I can tell you, on the other side, that doesn't matter anymore. They want people to forgive. They want people to make amends. They know that the only thing that you can take from here to there is love and knowledge. That's it. You can't pack your money into the casket and bring it to the other side. You can't pack, autographs and memorabilia. You could only take your love and your knowledge, and the memories that you leave behind makes us live a better life now to the loved ones that are in our life, because that's the only thing that people are going to remember of you here are those memories.
And it doesn't need to be even an existential argument to make, because even in this life now, those are the things that matter the most. If you told me tomorrow I would lose my father, but I would have money that he's leaving behind, I would say, hold the money.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
That's not of value to me.
No,
not nearly in the same stratosphere whatsoever. So that's important to point that out.
When spirit comes through and they start showing me the memories of their lives, I remember this one reading. I'm reading for this woman who was in a business suit, and I'm like, your father's coming through, and he's showing me the Barnegat Lighthouse, and I'm seeing crabbing. I'm seeing the cages, but I'm also seeing strings with the little chicken that you would put down, and you would go crabbing with the strings. And I see the nets, and he's wearing like a guinea tee, and I sketched him, but she was like, oh my God, I spent summers with my father down there, and we would crab just like that. And we would have the little chicken on the string. And that's the memory that he brought back to show, not, him buying the house and them, him buying her a car.
Right.
He wanted the simple memory of being together, sharing that little summer afternoon crabbing in the Barnegat Bay. That's a memory that meant something to him. So we could look at that now as people that are living and try to make those memories. Try to make those memories with all of our loved ones, because that's the only thing that truly matters. And we're in this field, so we talk, we communicate a lot to the dead, but the dead can teach us a lot about the living, right? Yeah. And a lot about the lives that we're living and what we're focusing on, and maybe make us make a more shift to be spiritual and more loving, and kind of like let those, if there's any kind of grievances that we have towards others, kind of go away, because it doesn't matter. You know, the only thing that we can do is love. We bring forth that knowledge. That's the only thing that we bring with us.
Yep.
So, and that's how I kind of like my dad, you know, my kids, you know, like focusing on them, focusing on, you know, creating those memories, fishing with them. Like, that's the only stuff that really matters.
Absolutely. I love what he brings to not just to the paranormal, but even the idea of spirituality, because it gets unfair, I think, associations or connotations to it sometimes too, right? One of the worst things to happen to spirituality is the word spirituality, because it separates it from reality. Like, it's not intrinsic to reality, but it very much is. And this is a prime example of that. Everything you do.
And you have to think, like, everything that we think about too, like in our daily life, money, and you know, it doesn't matter. Like, half the things that we think are going to happen don't happen, and that's what causes our anxieties and causes people to be in, you know, turmoil. Like, you know, just let it go. Like, I you know, the universe kind of provides. You know, if you're a high vibe person, if you work with good people, you know, and you have high vibes, you attract that. And I feel the same thing when we investigate the spirit world. You know, if you're coming from a good place, when you're coming from a good place and you're vibing high, you attract that energy. If you're a low kind of energy person, you shouldn't maybe get into this field, because like attracts like. And that's a whole nother show that we could do.
It's funny. My dad used to say, we're talking about value of life compared to what you take with you. My dad used to tell me, it doesn't matter how much you paid for the coffin, the hole is still 6 foot deep and gets covered with dirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and countless, you know, readings. You always, you know, when spirit shows us those memories of what they did, and it's always just trips. It's places that, like, they went. It's those memories with their kids. It's memories with the wife. This one reading that I did, it was a husband and wife, and I'm like, I see wine glasses in bed, and the woman goes, my husband and I would always unwind. He would bring like the wine glasses into bed, and we would watch television, and that was their thing. And seeing in my mind's eye the wine glasses in a bed, I was like, this is what I'm seeing. Does this make sense to you? And she goes, that was our routine. So that meant something to him. So awesome. It wasn't the Mercedes Benz that he had a red bow on for Christmas for. It was that. So, yeah. And that's part of that evidence, again, from the beginning of us talking about presenting evidence and asking spirit, you know, if you're coming through, you know, be clear, show me things that would make sense to my sitter that's sitting across from me. You know, it's stuff like that that drives the reading home.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Richard, we have reached the point in the show that's called the shameless plugs. And as much as you have presented to us today, and our audience has seen how awesome of a person you are, and the sittings that you do and the readings that you do, where can people get a hold of you for a sitting and a reading? Where can they
log on to You can log on to www.richardmoschella.com. I have everything on there, especially the events that are coming up with the Mediumship Trio and Lisa Morrison, especially with these two up there, Ron and Lourdes. My newest book, Facing Spirit Art Mediumship and Thinking Outside the Box, is available on Amazon. It's doing fantastic. And this is everything that we talked about tonight about spirit art mediumship. And I talk about how to develop your skills if you're looking to be more intuitive or even follow that mediumship route. So pick this up. This is really good. And I got to interview some amazing mediums in this book.
That's fantastic.
And I got the honor of writing one of the forwards for that book.
Right there with
me
Chris
and Chris DeCesare
also.
Yeah.
The Ghost Boy Geneseo. Yep, I'm in good company there. But yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Antoine.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great
book. So pick it up. But yeah,
and all his books, all your books are available on Amazon
too. Yes, my books are all available on Amazon.com. There are a few that are available at Barnes and Noble. And if you're in the Pine Bush area, the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum has a few signed copies of my books, and especially Ron Iacovetti's books too. So check out the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum.
Look at that. Talk about a selfless man. He's shameless plugs, and he's promoting Ron.
He always does. He always does. We both have.
We have to lift one another up.
That's right.
He does. There
is that unity in the paranormal. You know,
it does exist.
Right? It does exist. It does. It's not a unicorn.
No.
It might be a drunk one every now and then, but it's definitely there.
Hey, Nicole from Full Moon just showed up. What's her last name?
Trivatoni.
Yeah.
I got it right. I'm terrible with names, so I'm always like, "Hey, brother, how are?" So, especially last names. So I am so sorry, Nicole.
She knows that. She does.
Yeah, forget about it. Anthony Simonelli's stamp of approval.
Captain Cannoli. Very there.
Right.
Captain Cannoli. And at the last investigation, they were serving cannoli, so that made me really happy.
All right,
for readings and for appearances, richardmoschella.com.
Yep, www.richardmoschella.com. My books are available at Amazon. They're also on my website. I thank you guys for having me on. It's always a pleasure being on this show. You guys are awesome. So thank you.
It's always a phenomenal pleasure having you on, Richard. I mean, guys, this is an example right here. What makes me feel good about the future of the world that we live in is this man is raising children. That makes me feel phenomenal. Anybody?
3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them.
3 of them.
He says he's done, but I don't think he is.
I don't know.
But a man with
see this gray hair? There's going to be more gray hair by next year.
Oh, there's more coming. But a man like Richard that has the integrity he has, that is such a great, phenomenal person with such a good heart that is raising 3 children, gives me hope in the world that we live in today. If you guys haven't met Richard or talked to Richard, you should have paid attention today because he's a phenomenal person. So,
yes, he is.
Thank you.
Hey,
yep.
Richard.
We love Dada.
We love Dada.
And we're going to be working together on Friday night, Ron. We'll be doing a Staticom seance with Lisa Morrison. So we'll
this Friday.
Where at?
This Friday.
This Friday. I'm busy.
It's sold out. A sold out event in Washingtonville, New York, and the Hudson Valley with Lisa Morrison. So it's sold out. So we'll probably have more stories to talk about.
Yep. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. We're looking forward to that.
So, Ron and Lourdes, what do you got coming on?
Well, apparently that, yeah. we have that coming up, and we're hyped to. We've worked with Jill and Kim and Lisa with Richard before, and they're all so gifted, and they all pull stuff that's synchronous with what we're getting. When Richard again draws the people who are associated to the people who are in the room, and we're hearing things that are associated with those people in the room.
And how they work, the mediums work with each other. It's amazing. They really are, they work together well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have that Friday night. Then next week, our friends from the UK from Festival of the Unexplained will be here along with Wes Coleman. So we're doing the Shanley, Fort Mifflin. Then we're doing a Morris County Parks event with Richard on Friday, and then we may visit the White Hill
it's gonna be
Paracon on Saturday. So we'll have 4 days in a row, followed by Penhurst the next week, followed the next week after that by the Shanley Hotel's trifecta event with Ronnie LeBlanc, Get Haunted, Paranormal LeBlanc, us two, Scotty Davis, who's also another phenomenal medium, who also loves Richard's work.
Yeah.
So there again,
I want to work with Scott. We have to do something. I mean, he is amazing, and again, another great person in the paranormal. So
put Lily's comment on the screen, because I was alluding to not knowing I had the event Friday, and she would, and she's good. If anybody could find me, she would find me.
That's funny.
That's a talented lady right there. Yeah. She is really phenomenal.
She is amazing.
Yep.
So, and again, your book's on Amazon. Tell people, because you showed one. This is also a prolific author. He does not have one book.
I have 7.
There you go.
Good Lord, man. 3 children, all these events, and you have time to write 7 books?
Yes. And I'm working on number 8 right now. I'm almost done. I'm like halfway done with the 8th book. So
okay, I have to point.
I got a great interview in it. So I'm not going to drop the person that I interviewed in it, but it's somebody that I read his books as a kid that I was able to spend a few hours talking to on the phone.
Yeah,
and that was set up by Lisa. So
it's a big deal.
Yeah,
I got to point something out to y'all. Richard does all these events. He's written 7 books. He has 3 children. He is only 28 years old. That gray hair is from the lack of sleep.
Yeah, he's only 28 years old.
And if you didn't notice from some of the videos, the guy's lost like 100 pounds. That's also from the lack of sleep in the 3 children.
Yeah.
And running after the kids.
That's funny.
Awesome.
But
Audra and I will be.
I'm truly blessed. I live a blessed life. I have a wonderful wife that supports me in all my craziness of running around, and chasing after spirits and having my mediumship events. And so I couldn't have done this without her and my kids. When I leave, my oldest, who's 5, goes, Dad's going to look for ghosties. Because ghosties make it nice, they're not.
Wait till he's in high school. He's going to go, my dad is freaking crazy. My dad is just
I already know now the teachers are probably doing Google. They're probably like, that's.
So Audra and I will be Friday night. We are going about 2 hours north of here to work with Zach Bennett and PPIT on a pretty nasty private case that's affecting a young boy that we hope to solve and help the family this weekend. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I hope you can help.
Yeah, so do I. It's a pretty nasty case, but we will do everything we can. So, all right, guys. Go ahead.
Only because Todd and Carmelo mentioned it earlier, and he wanted them to. This is a Richard Statacom collab moment. Friday night at the event we just did at the Public House. Richard wrote down on the back of his sketch pad a number and held it up to the room and asked Spirit to come through Statacom and name the number. And that was it. And everybody heard it.
That's fantastic.
And the voice said it more than once.
No, but I think they were even funny about it because I think it was a joke.
Oh, yeah.
So they say 8. So then Rich tries to be slick and just turns it a little bit like the infinity sign. And then he says, so what symbol is it now? And they said 8.
It was 8 either way.
It's an 8 either way, doesn't matter.
Tomato.
Exactly.
All right. Richard, thank you again for coming on. You're a phenomenal dude. We love having you on every time you're on
Thank
here.
you guys.
The stuff that you
Thank
do
you
is
so
phenomenal.
much.
And the people
Thank
that
you,
you help
Richard.
and the people that you help and touch it is just fantastic. And the fact that you love doing it is even more phenomenal.
Yep.
Well,
all right, guys.
Thank you very much for having me
Thank
on.
you.
Thanks,
Richard.
everybody.
And we
all right,
kept
guys.
him
Thank
past
you.
his bedtime. It's past his bedtime. We cannot.
It's past Dad's bedtime. That's where the gray hair
I'm
comes
going to go to sleep.
right there at the desk.
That was
the only peaceful spot in the house.
Yeah. Crashing right on my couch in my office.
All right.
Always
to
a
our
pleasure,
audience,
guys. Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Okay?
We love you all so much for coming out. We will return next week with another great guest and some great evidence. We will see you guys next week. And remember, in the paranormal field, if you are surrounded by negative, you are not surrounded by the right people. Get out there. be positive, be with positive people, make a positive impact. But most of all, stay haunted. All right, guys. See you next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Can you give me a name? What's your name?